Hello, we're back again. It's all for women's football, and it's that time. You've heard of them all. Eubank against Ben, Ali against Fraser. That's nothing compared to the end of season debate that is who makes. Look at me, that's a terrible thing to do. Just checking we're on there. Apologies, but who's going to make the WSL team of the season? I'm going to throw my phone out the window whilst you lot enjoy this. See you in a bit. Technology, eh? It's great when it works. It's terrible when it don't. Welcome. Lovely to have you all. If you're here expecting the man that is Connor, he will be here very soon. He's just finishing up on the United side of stuff. But we are not here for that. We are here to have a conversation with four incredibly intelligent people and then Connor when he turns up. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a great old giggle. And for the first time ever, on team of the season, I'm in the driving seat, and power that you wield when you're in this situation is just amazing. I have decided to not put forward a team this season, so I shall not be involved in having an argument, which is great. I've got zero stress. I've got no skin in this fight, so it's a wonderful thing. But these four do. They have been studiously sat there writing their team of the season with just 3 rules. Rule number 1, they must choose no more than 3 players from any one WSL side. Rule number 2, has to be on a 4-3-3 formation. Too many arguments, too many shoehorns. I don't like it. 4-3-3 is what we're going for. And that's what they've had to do. And rule number 3, they had to pick one player who was their star player who they would die on a hill for. And they will be automatically inserted into the team, ready for us to have a fight about. A discussion about. So here we go. It's going to be an absolute banger. But I do feel like it would be impertinent of us not to mention the Champions League final. So little run around from you all. Barcelona win again. Is that a little bit now like, the WSL in some ways? Are Barcelona just going to be that team that are always there at the top, or can we see any people starting to flourish and get themselves into the game? What do you reckon, Laura? We'll just go around. Laura, Megan, Mia, Connor, and Rob whilst I'm doing my technical stuff.
I don't think it's quite Chelsea levels yet, and I think what is still exciting about the Champions League final is that going into it, I didn't think that it was definitely Barcelona. Like, I would have said, if I had to choose between the two, I'd have said Barcelona. But I wasn't as confident about it as I have been in other competitions, in other finals, of who's going to win. And I think when you get to that level at the top of Europe, you still do have some of that competition. And we've obviously seen Lyon beat Barcelona at that stage before. It's only Barcelona's 3rd title and 2nd consecutive. So for a team of their quality, absolutely, they are the best in Europe, no doubt. But I don't think it's as set going forward, especially with Heraldez leaving this season. It'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming it'll be more of the same. But it was a great final, and it wasn't a complete walkover, as you wouldn't expect. And I'm really excited to see European competition in the future. And I think if English clubs can nail it, then I think there will be a good competition in future.
Yeah, I agree. I think Lyon have the better record in the Champions League over Barca by, quite a margin, to be fair. So to see Barca win it was brilliant. And I think Alexia Putellas getting a goal as well. Will she really kick on next season? Let's hope that she does, sort of thing, because, ever since her ACL injury, she hasn't, maybe fully hit the ground running like people will have expected her to after her ACL injury. And, maybe her scoring in the Champions League final is her kind of saying, the best of me is sort of yet to come. So let's hope we can see her shine next season.
Yeah, I don't think we can compare it to the WSL in terms of dominance yet, because the first 45 minutes of that game, Barcelona wasn't the Barcelona we've seen before. They weren't as creative as they normally are. Lyon, had them for a bit. And yeah, it was an interesting final. It probably wasn't one of the best we've seen, but yeah, I think when you have a team like Barcelona has, it's really hard to not win everything you're involved in. But Leon did put up a really good fight, and I am sad for them, sad for the boss that she walks away now without. But on the flip side, Geraldes now has another Champions League trophy to take away before he goes off to Washington Spirit.
Yeah, I obviously missed the question. Obviously, I know we're talking about the Champions League final. I didn't think the final was all that great. I cannot lie. I thought for the quality of both teams, it was probably, and I think they would say this themselves. Ultimately, Barca won't care. They won it, right? You know, you play poor, play, I guess, lower than you expected in the final. You win. Does it really matter? You've just won the final. But ultimately, when you've got players like Bon Massey and Pates to come off the bench, I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? Coming off the bench against a tired Lyon backline. Yeah, I didn't have any dog in this fight. I didn't really mind who won it from either side. I've got nothing really against either team. So, yeah, I'm happy, I guess, for Barca, particularly obviously Honor, just because I love her, and I'm happy that she's obviously completed the quadruple over there, winning the Champions League as well, which is something she spoke so much about, even when she was at United. That's something she always spoke about, is wanting to win the Champions League. So I'm happy for her. Yeah, as I said, I don't think it was a great final, but ultimately, in that occasion, the atmosphere looked amazing, by the way. It was just looked flooded with Barcelona fans everywhere, which was to be a bit expected. Yeah, I think Lyon will have a bit of reflecting to do, looking back, and potentially why they didn't maybe turn up as much as maybe they thought they might, because I didn't think they would. They could definitely have it. They've definitely got more gears to them, I think, as a Barcelona, but I think Lyon will be a bit disappointed in how they performed in it.
I mean, yeah, to sort of echo, I personally think that you didn't see the best of Barcelona because they were more interested in trying to negate Lyon. And I think they were wary of that final a few years ago where they turned up just expecting to win it, and Lyon did a real number on them, and they were determined to sort of do it backwards. I also, excuse me, do think Barcelona were helped by the fact that Rebecca Welch's refereeing was very much a case of, I don't want to get involved here. And so it meant that there were a number of situations that certainly when there have been more picky referees, and I'm thinking of certainly the one at Stamford Bridge in the second leg of the Champions League, that, fouls would have been called up and decisions would have been given. But because there was, time to allow that to sort of happen, and that was sort of able to go on, I think it suited Barcelona better. I also think you saw how much Lyon really missed Ada Hegerberg up front. I think there's a lot of modern, and by modern I use the phrase post-Euro 2020 women's football fans that don't necessarily realise quite how good Ada Hegerberg is at her absolute best. You're talking about, I don't like using comparison to the men's game, but you're talking about sort of like the equivalent of Messi when she was at her absolute best. Just go past absolutely everyone. You'd be expecting her to score 2 or 3 every single game, and there's no way to stop her. And this year she's been getting back to her fitness, but due to the injuries, and the fact she was an injury doubt, I don't think they wanted to risk her and risk a longer-term injury, which I do understand. But ultimately, you saw how much different they looked to the side when they had her up front as a presence. I mean, she had a couple of half chances. I think if that game had gone on for another 15 minutes and you gave her a clear chance, you'd probably have been looking at a different outcome because of how good a finisher she is. But credit to Barcelona, they did their job well.
Absolutely that. Indeed. Well done, Barcelona. They are the champions of the Champions League for the women. So well done. Good job. And that's that done. Now we can get into the main event. That was like the undercard that you get in a boxing match. But now is the time for everyone to put their gloves on. Conor might want to put his helmet on just to make sure that he doesn't get a hair out of place because it's about to get hot in here. Let's be clear. So I'm going to, everybody cross your fingers. So I'm going to try and share my screen so that we can have the chosen 11 sat up on the screen for you to see. Now, like I said to you, this will include all 5, well, it'll only be 4 because 2 people chose the same person, star players, the people that they would absolutely die on a hill for. So, a little bit of luck. Ta-da! Okay, you should now be able to see it. I can see it, so you should be able to see it because my eyesight's worse than yours. So, here we are with our team. And you'll notice it's a little bit gammy, by which I mean LJ and Turland are both on the same side. That is because the people that chose these players, so Connor, who chose Turland, chose his one to play on the right, but Rob chose Lauren James according to how it was set out on the things you sent me to also be on the right. But to be honest with you, I'm not convinced this is going to cause a massive drama in the chat as to who goes left and who goes right, based on the fact that 3 of you chose Lauren James for the right wing, and 3 of you chose Turland for the left wing, and 2 of you chose Turland for the right wing, and 2 of you chose James for the left wing. So I feel like whatever happens here, we're going to be okay. So on that basis, I'm going to leave LJ on the right, and I'm going to throw Turland over here on the left. So that's where we are. Bunny Shaw, I can tell you, was chosen by the one and only Meg. She decided that Bunny Shaw was the most important. And of course, the one and only Laura. So those 2 chose Bunny Shaw. Now you will notice that there's somebody in the middle. And that somebody in the middle, I am proud to say, has nothing to do with me. I'm merely a host. I have no skin.
Ignore me, by the way. Ignore the United thing behind me. Nothing to do with me.
No, it's not you, Connor. I've already said that you chose Turland. Calm down. Trying to get yourself out of the way. So genuinely, but it warmed my heart. It really did, because I agree. Now I am only here as a referee. So if there's any arguments, I will have the casting vote. That is the power that I am possessing this evening. But Mia, God bless her, chose Katie Zellum. So our first round, I suppose, has to start there. Can you please explain to us why Katie Zellum would be your automatic choice to go into the central midfield of the WSL team of the season?
I would absolutely love to. Now, I must stress, I have played this game so strategically because I always lose. Whenever we do these, I lose. I never get anyone that I want in, famously. However, Katie Zellum this season has not played the most beautiful football of her career. And, you know, in comparison to most midfielders in the league who visually play football a lot nicer, she hasn't. But she does the basics, and she does the basics really, really well. And although, you know, you might have seen her season and watch her play and think, like, you can brush her off, assume that there's better midfielders, I argue that you'd struggle to find one that are more accurate, clinical, influential. And you've got to remember, she's the leader, the boss of this Manchester United team, who have across the board struggled to score goals, but she's still racked up the second most assists in the league, the whole league this season, on 6. She created the most chances across the league this season. And if United had an out-and-out striker, maybe they'd put more goals away. But that's not on her, because those chances were put on a plate. Chloe Kelly sits behind her, and then Beth Mead. So she's done more than those 2 in terms of chances. She's made 49 successful crosses this season, maintained a dribble rate of 80%. I feel like when you watch Katie Zellum this season, one of the big things, especially that I've picked up, is that I always feel like she gives the ball away. But she's only been dispossessed 13 times, and she's made 164 recoveries for this Manchester United team. That's huge. That's massive. So, in my opinion, she gives you that attacking threat. She'll find the right players, but she'll also put the work in defense, in the defensive third. So I think she's been made a bit of a scapegoat in this team because it's easy to criticize her. She doesn't play glamorous football. That's not what she's about. But this team, the Manchester United team that won the FA Cup, they didn't have a great season, but they would have had a horrendous season without her, because she makes them tick. And whatever you think about her, those statistics do not lie. Thank you.
I mean, if I wasn't already sat on a high chair, I'd give you a standing ovation, but I am. And if I jump off, I've got to jump on again. And I don't look very good doing that. So we're not going to do that live on the internet. But I agree. You had me at Katie, to be fair. So it'll be intriguing to see if you can change anybody's mind with your impassioned plea. The good news is we're not going to get into that just yet. Katie's element will remain on your screen for a while. It's only fair that other people get the chance to defend their star players. That's very much the front three. So Meg and Laura, could you two please explain? I mean, to be fair, the other three also chose Bunny Shaw, but you can be the ones to be the voice pieces for it. Why is Bunny Shaw front and centre of our team of the season? Don't care what order you're going. Fight amongst yourselves.
I chose her because I thought out of all the players on my team, she was the most firm choice for me in terms of, right, I can write her in and I definitely think she's going to make my team. To be fair, I chose all of the same front three as that are up there, and I think they all deserve a place. In terms of choosing my like top player that definitely deserves to go in, there wasn't much in it, but I think Bunny Shaw, she's top scorer in the league. I think she's a real reason behind Man City challenging for the title this season and making that jump from finishing fourth to bringing it down to the final day. I think a lot of that is down to Bunny Shaw, and that impact to have on a team is huge, and especially when you're playing with Jill Roord for half a season, you're playing with Jess Park for the second half of the season, and both of them have been incredible in terms of servicing Shaw, but she's then had to adapt to play with both those players. And Rob was mentioning before we started her defensive contributions as well. She's not just in that attacking role, she's contributed all over the pitch. So for me, that just makes her like a definitely in my team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think she got 21 goals and, behind her was Lauren James and Liz Turland, who got 13. That's quite a big gap in terms of how many goals she got. Even the fact that she got injured, however many games it was before the end of the season, that gap in terms of how many goals she scored is just crazy. And, that's the reason she was straight in there for me. There was, she's been, way above any other, striker really this season. But she's just a complete centre forward, isn't she? Her aerial ability as well. Not every centre forward has that, especially in the WSL. And so, yeah, it was just such a given for me.
Absolutely. And to be fair, as Marie said when she was writing her bit there, no explanation needed for short. No, you're right, but it will be a really poor show. Yeah, if nobody explains why it was they picked their person. So that's why I went for it. Plus, it's their star player. It's the one that they would absolutely have fought for. And it's just very interesting that people chose some different ones, with the exception of these two. Rob did not. Rob chose a certain Lauren James, as we know, as his star player, the person whom he would die on a hill for. Why would you, bearing in mind what's been said about Bunny Shaw, why would you have chosen Lauren James as your star player, your captain, if you will?
It's simple, really. In the big games this year, she's been the one absolutely every time to step up and be counted for Chelsea. In a year where Chelsea have suffered from significant injuries, especially in the attacking department, and been lacking I think the real star factor, the X factor up front of Sam Kerr, especially in the second half of the year, and she wasn't great in the first half of the year. James has just been phenomenal. I mean, you've seen the way she's been sort of dominating, I think, on the wing. The fact that pretty much every defender nowadays has got terrified to get near her. And, when she goes in one-on-one, there's usually one of three outcomes. I'd say 1 in 10 times the defender wins the ball, 3 in 10 times she gets fouled, and 6 in 10 times she just goes past them and has a chance to, shoot or set it up. I think their end product has become a lot more sharper and cleaner, which is something I think that was always going to come with age. And also, I think she just has that absolute, that fear factor quality in the team. Of that also means that there's more space for everyone else. And I think it's been telling that, she had key contributions against Arsenal, had key contributions against Manchester City in the Cup, had obviously, scored a hat-trick against Manchester United, scored a hat-trick against Liverpool, scored against Tottenham on the opening day. In the big games, she's always been the one to turn up on a regular basis. And I think that's that really just shows why she won the various awards she's got this year. And I think she's only getting better and better as well.
Sorry, Rob, I'm not laughing at you. Connor, I've known him for 2 years, and he just said, I think the funniest thing to me in the group chat that he's probably ever said. So we're gonna let him talk about it. And while we're talking about it, I'm gonna let the panel decide. Purely because this is the kind of stuff that Connor's done to us for the last 2 years. The last 2 years we've done this, Connor's been in charge of this, and he's graciously allowed me to be the king of the ring on this one. He chose Elizabeth Turland, who I have happily put on there as Liz Turland. He's not happy. He doesn't think he's ever been called Liz, and he just said it's reminding me of that bit of Queen Lizzie. It's played my mind a little bit because now I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So I'm intrigued to know, should I call her Elizabeth on here, or should I just keep it as Liz? You guys let us know what you think in the chat. And whilst you're doing that, Connor, perhaps you can explain why Elizabeth Liz Turland is your star player of the season.
I really hope Erling's watching, because as a Norwegian, I'm sure he would be equally offended to see Liz written down rather than, and Sean as well, who obviously is the Brighton rep as well. I think he'll be equally as offended. That's not. And I'm also equally offended. I really hope we swap her and James around as well, because Turland has played off the right, James has played off the left. So I hope we swap those two around when we get to that. I mean, what more can you say about it? She's in an awful Brighton team, and she's come second top scorer in the league. And I think for her age as well, she's only 22. She's come obviously new league and everything else. She's just been exceptional. Like, she's one of the main reasons Brighton have stayed up this year. She is just a proper number 9, a proper old. I say it a lot, a proper old-fashioned number 9 that can also play out on the right as well. She's exceptional. She's going to get a big move at some point in the next. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens this summer. She's just that good, and yeah, just a player that I absolutely love. And for me, had to be in this team, which is unfortunate because there's a couple of other players I maybe would have put in over her, but when we were picking this, as you saw in our little group chat earlier, she was a non-negotiable for me. She had to be in this team, hence why I put her down as my star player. Yeah, she's just an unbelievable forward, and like I said, to score 13, I think assists, 1 in the league, become second top scorer in a team that is quite poor this season and has been near the bottom of near the bottom end of the table for the most part of the season. Yeah, that's exceptional. If she's put in those sort of, you put her in an Arsenal squad or a United squad, she gets 13 league goals, you're happy with that, aren't you? You're looking at it going, that's a good return. She's doing that in a struggling Brighton team. I think that stands out even more for me. When all the hype last year was around the likes of Katie Robinson and all players like that, Turland's come in and absolutely smashed it this season as well. So, yes, Emily, I have already put some works in motion to try and get. Probably shouldn't say that. Yeah, I know I'd absolutely love her at United. She's not short of offers, or she's not going to be short of offers, I should say. So, yeah, I think it's a big summer for her, and she's breaking into that Norway team, which is stacked of talent as well. By the way, that's already got an array of talented forwards. Yeah, so for me, just had to be because the other players, like you're talking about Shaw and James, they were going to be in regardless, right? I don't think any of us were going to leave those two out. So Turland, I thought, was the one I wanted to make sure she was in.
Well, the fun fact there is that it has, and on a genuine note, if that has offended any of our Scandinavian viewers, I apologise. But just for that moment of internet entertainment, well worth it. Well worth it. So that's where we are. There are star players. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to stay, with the exception of the front three, because you've all voted for them. Well, you've already seen Connor get his little dig in about, well, I hope they swap sides. Listen, I'm only going by what people sent us. And everybody else, 3/2, said on the right-hand side, my friends. So you need to be having a go at Mia and Meg and indeed Rob, who are the people that put them there. So unless one of them wants to switch her over, then they'll be staying there and you'll just have to get over it. But we're going to go on to goalkeeper, because that is how these things work. And it's very interesting. I can confirm we do not have a unanimous decision. We do have a majority decision. So we're going to run over to Rob very quickly to ask him if he could put forward a defence for why he has chosen his person. Tell everybody who it was and why.
Yeah, so again, part of my defence of this is because of the bloody annoying rule that we can only have a maximum of 3 players, which, again, I thought this year there was going to be a change in this and we were going to break away from the shackles of Connor's bureaucracy, but sadly it does seem, there's, only one person really in charge of this channel. There is a puppet master ruling over everyone. But I went to Courtney Brosnan, and my argument for this is that Everton, for a large part of the year, due to injury problems and also poor form, were pretty diabolical, in all honesty. And without Brosnan's performances, they would have by far been in the relegation battle. There were so many games I watched her where she'd make 2 or 3 absolutely brilliant world-class saves, and Everton would lose by maybe a single goal margin or by a couple of goals margin. And you think, actually, if they had a decent attack in place, they could have got something out of that match because of how well Brosnan played. Now, I did, the obvious other 2 names in the list are, Hannah Hampton, who I think had a very good first season at Chelsea, and also Chiara Keating, who I think had an excellent season at Manchester City. But I think there were also players in those teams that stood out more for me in their respective positions. So that's why I went for Brosnan. And also, the other sort of name I did consider for a little bit, and one of the main reasons West Ham didn't go down, was Mackenzie Arnold. Because Mac Arnold is always, Mac Arnold continuously just keeps West Ham in the league, and if she ever gets injured for a long period of time, then God help them, because that's the case. And I can see Mia shaking her head. You don't like it because it's true.
Well, very interesting. I can confirm though, Rob, you were the only person to choose Courtney Brosnan. The 4 other radical sheep within here all chose exactly the same person. So I'm going to allow Laura to be the voice of Chiara Keating. Why did you choose Chiara Keating in goal for your team?
I just think she is in my top 3 City players, and I think she was the best goalkeeper in the league this season. I think she obviously still has mistakes in her, but I think far and away, I think she also had one of the best save percentages. So even though you can look at it and go, well, City are a good team, you expect them to keep more clean sheets, she's actually had a real impact in that goal in terms of keeping those clean sheets and contributing to that. And she's won the Golden Glove, which you can arguably say goes to the whole defence. But I think in a City team that have had to have really strong defensive performances this year, Keating has certainly been central to that. And at such a young age, I think it's super impressive the season that she's had in a City team that has been far more impressive than recent years.
I would tend to agree with you. And as I said, 4 people chose Chiara Keating as it stands, because it is a democracy over here, regardless of what some people think. It is definitely one of those. So we are going to put Keating in goal for now. But again, the game can change, because if we end up with more than 3 City players having won, somebody's got to go. So we shall keep that very much, that seat nice and warm. So that moves us over to I'm going to go into centre backs now. And there was one centre back who was chosen by absolutely everybody, and that was this little superstar just here, Lotte Wubben-Moy. So she was chosen by every single one of the panel and is therefore immediately thrown in, because what's the point in having an argument about a player who has already won the vote? That would be silly. So she's in. That's Arsenal's first player. Currently got 2 City, 1 Arsenal, a Man United, a Chelsea, and a Brighton. So who would partner Lotte Wubben-Moy in defence? Well, I can confirm we've got 2 names. 2 names. Connor, could you tell us who it is who was your second name? And no, it's not just because I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it.
I can't even remember. Who did I say? I'm just going back now to see who I sent you. Oh, Alexandria, I think I went for. And yeah, it's a toss up, really, isn't it? I could have picked a couple out of that City backline. And to be fair, Emma's shout of Gemma Bonner's a good shout as well, actually. Yeah, I wanted a City defender in there. That's the one I've gone for. It was her or Greenwood, and I feel like Alexandria is a good shout. I might have been slightly swayed by a couple of people I spoke to today, to be honest, on that one. One of whom is on the panel. So, yeah, she's an exceptional defender, and I think, like I said, it was between those two, and I just went for Alexandria.
It's very interesting. That's who you've gone for. We can see Emily Moxham going in there with Gemma Bonner being her shout. And Abhishek here's gone for Jess Carter being the best centre back in the league, which is an interesting shout. But I can confirm, person who got 3 votes was your other choice, Connor. So, Meg, perhaps you can explain why you chose Alex Greenwood to partner Lotte Wubben-Moy, who takes up a lot of space, doesn't she, there on the bottom?
I mean, you think Greenwood and consistency, they just go in the same sentence, don't they? She's just misconsistent all the time. And I think she's had the most touches and completed the most passes in the league this season, which, you know, for a centre back, that's what they do, kind of thing. And the experience she has, her ability to read the game, the positions she finds herself in, and even her contributions, you know, further up the pitch. I just think she's always in the conversations in team of the season or team of the year, you know, past few seasons. And I think she just always deserves to be in there because she hardly ever puts her foot wrong, really, does she?
I don't think she does, no. To be fair, it's a very interesting one. So as it stands, we've got Alex Greenwood with 3 votes and Alexandria with 2. So, Rob, you were the other person to choose Alexandria. We'll come back to you in a second. Let's go to Mia and find out why you chose Alex Greenwood.
Exactly the same reasons. You know what you get from her. I think she's an unbelievable centre back. There's not really a lot more I can say. This City team has been pretty formidable all season, and you know it's just I can't say I literally can't say any more. She's so consistent for club and country. City have a lot of talented defenders, but she's got so much experience behind her, and yeah, she's Alex Greenwood. There's no way she couldn't be on this team.
Well, as it stands, Mia, you are 100% correct, and her name is about to be written on here, whilst Rob is given a passionate plea for why Alexandria should potentially remain in your mind for the very real possibility that another City player gets mentioned, because that will be 3 City players at that point. Rob, what say you?
I mean, to be fair, between Greenwood and Alexandria, I think both of them are good arguments. My argument for Alexandria is that Alexandria, I think, has played so many different roles this year for City. She's played fullback and looked very, very good. She's sometimes even stepped into the midfield and been the extra midfielder in there when they've required it. She's played very, very well at centre back. She's a terrific passer of the ball. Her reading of the game is immense. And I think that's something, you know, that gets often overlooked. In that City side, there are so many occasions where teams have a chance to, if they can get through the formidable wall in the midfield that is Yumi Hisagawa, they then still have to get the pass right to get it through past Alexandria. And I think Greenwood is a fantastic defender. You know, it could easily have been her as well. But I think Alexandria goes under the radar, as someone said in the comments. And when she's not there, I think City look a much worse team. And Greenwood doesn't look anywhere near as happy when she's not being partnered by Alexandria.
Fair points. Everybody will have to keep that in mind as we move on. Which leaves us to our left back and our right back. Now, it's a very interesting situation here. The right back one seemed difficult, but there's been some very interesting shouts. I can tell you that the winner at left back and the winner at right back is the very same person, which it's just sort of giving me Mark Skinner vibes at the moment here, as to players that could potentially just go one side, t'other side, constant, and indeed Eric Ten Hag vibes, if I'm being brutally honest. But Niamh Charles feels like a cert to be within our team in the season, but where?
Can I
can
just
tell
ask
you-
something?
You may.
Who put her at right back? Please, on the panel, make it known who put you at right back.
That would be Mia and Meg, or as I like to
Right,
refer to
okay.
them.
Oh, they're shaking their head, Barry.
The visual proof. The visual
Right, okay.
proof.
I think
Now
she's
we-
going in at left back here, Barry.
more than happy
I
for her
put
to go
someone
there.
else in it right back.
If I
Can
put
I,
it
can I just say, if you've put her in at right back, have you actually watched a single minute of Chelsea? Because I don't think she's played a single minute at right back this season.
Okay.
It's
So,
Rachel
hey.
Kelly syndrome all over again.
I'm going to ask you to just take a look at yours. Now, I'm not one for naming and shaming, but the goalkeeper is at the top of your page, correct?
Yeah, okay. I meant to put her at left back.
Yes,
Okay, good, right? See?
All of my
Now, what's
team
happened
is
here,
around.
people sent it to me incorrectly. Not my job to question your decisions, ladies.
So does
Right?
that mean that means the James and Turlin things are the wrong way around?
Keep trying. Keep
I
trying.
think they are.
Okay, so the good news there is
No,
that
actually,
does mean
they're not. The James and Turland are right way round for me still.
good. So whilst I put Niamh Charles at left back and then see how that's changed the world, I'm going to ask Connor Roberts to have a little conversation as to why he's picked the right back that he's picked for player of the season at right back.
Yeah, this one was tough. This was the one position I left till last because there's not that many outstanding right backs for the whole season. When you're looking at from October to May, there's not been that many outstanding right backs over the whole season. Because I did toy with putting Charles at right back, even though she's never played there, and shoehorning her in and putting maybe like a Corvista or something like that over on the left side or something like that. I toyed with that a little bit. I don't know. So yeah, people are going to call me biased, whatever. I've gone for Jade Riviere because I think when she had played, she's actually been exceptional. Her stats back it up. In defensively, going forward, obviously United this season, people have watched us. We've not exactly lit the world alight. Been very poor in that respect. So it's no coincidence that she's not hit the numbers. Maybe going forward, but I think when you've got a player, when they're not there, the team looks so out of shape. And I know people are going to point to the 6-0 on the last game of the season and go, oh, well, she played in that one. Yes, I know. But, there's a whole other, 10 other players that were poor in that game as well. To me, she adds that full balance that United don't have when she's not there. And I think she's an exceptional young fullback. And I think if she can stay fully fit, because she has had injuries throughout this season, I think she's going to be exceptional. So I would put her in at right back. I remember doing this show on the WFC channel and the mid-season one, and Jade was in the conversation for right back then. So I'm glad I'm still kind of thinking of her as the right back when we got to the full team of the season at the end of the year. But yeah, there's not that many right backs really. I think this was the one position I really struggled with. Like every other position, you can think of about 2 or 3 names. I really struggled on the right-hand side.
It's very interesting that you say that because you say there's not many to choose from, but we've got 4 different people to choose from today.
Ooh.
So it's been very interesting. We are going to move over to the amazing Mia. And I do have to say, Mia, that when I looked at your 11, I did wonder what you were playing at because there was no way that I imagined this person ever playing at left back. But like I say, mine is not to question. I just assumed that you knew what you were doing and that you had a reason for putting it there. So can you explain why you put Ashley Neville in at left back and then switched her to right back just now?
Yeah, well, clearly I don't know what I'm doing, Barry. That's been made abundantly clear. Ash Neville has played on the left. She's very versatile, right? So we're just gonna let that happen. This isn't shoehorning. This is just like bending the rules slightly. But all in all, she's been one of the best rated players this season. Like if you look through sort of like match ratings, she's been up there consistently. And at 31, she's approaching the end of her career, but she's playing very consistently well. And I've written some notes because I I'm so you can tell I lose these constantly, but if we're talking like player percentiles, her defensive statistics are consistently in the 80s and 90s. So defensively, she's unbelievably sound, but then progressively, she's been dangerous this year. She's got the third most progressive passes in the team. She's completed more passes than Grace Clinton. She's made the most tackles in the defensive third for Spurs by a considerable margin. It was like double the next player. And again, at 31, and she's been at Spurs for a long time. She's got to an FA Cup final, and forgetting about the score that they suffered that day, she has been very unlucky to. And again, I think this is more a case of her age. There was a lot of calls for her to be a part of the England setup this year, which, might be a controversial take, but I think the bottom line is she's one of those players that you just really take for granted and flies under the radar because she's been at Tottenham for so long, and they've had a really good season this year, Spurs. They've sort of done everything they wanted to do and more. So I think she's been an essential part of that. And yes, Sean, I'm going full Monday Night Football here because I always lose these things. Always. So I've come prepared.
And more importantly, it is Monday night, so it makes complete sense to do that. Had she done it tomorrow, I can understand the confusion. Rob, let's throw this over to you because so far, Sean, as much as he's just had a go there, has agreed that Ash Neville is a good shout. Georgie Lee saying, great shout for Riviera right back as well. But Emily Moxham putting a shout out here for Emma, I'm going to butcher this, Chiavisto for right back. Who did you choose?
Koivisto.
Oh, it's amazing. Tell us more.
I'm amazed that Koivisto, again, I said this before, when she was at Brighton, I was amazed other sides higher up the food chain weren't looking at her and picking her up. And after, she's been at Liverpool for a couple of seasons. Again, I'd be amazed if the move she makes in the summer isn't to a UWSL club. She's brilliant, really, really good from an attacking point of view. I think she picked up 4 assists this season in the league and got a goal from fullback, which is good. But it's just that relentless energy down that side. And, that absolute relentless ability. Granted, she isn't actually the best through a defensive point of view, but that has been mitigated by the fact that Liverpool are very, very strong and sturdy in that position. And she's also shown an ability to start inverting when they have got possessional dominance, which actually then allows Herbinger to actually go out onto that wing area and really cause damage with her ability to cross the ball. And I just think Koivisto is one of those players that, just some of those bizarre Liverpool letting her go. I think it's more of a case that she's probably got a better offer from elsewhere and got an offer from a better club. Because, again, everyone I talked to at Liverpool is stunned that if she's been allowed to leave and have been saying, she's been in contention for player of the season this year. And I hope she stays in the WSL, and I hope, whatever side picks her up continues to demonstrate what a good player she is.
Indeed. Now, I'm not one for conspiracy theories at all, but I am about to write the name of a player in at right back, and I'm going to leave it up to Laura and Meg to explain why they've chosen this particular right back. And I'm listening. I'm in full Greg Davis Taskmaster form here for your reasoning behind choosing your right back. Laura, you went first last time, so maybe Meg goes first this time, and then Laura can back it up.
Look, me and Laura both know she only signed in January. But I think that goes to show that Emily Fox has had such an impact in such a short space of time in, for a position at Arsenal that maybe hasn't been, solid, for many seasons sort of thing. And I just think she's sort of transformed that right back position. I mean, I hardly, knew much about her game before she came to Arsenal, but I was blown away. I mean, she got player of the match in her first game, didn't she? So, I mean, that kind of goes to show that, she's really had an impact straight from the start. And I was looking at some of her, when Mia was on about the defensive percentiles, and, she's in the 90s for so many of, her progressive carries, her passes completed. And yeah, I just think she's been such an unbelievable signing for Arsenal and, transformed that right back position. And going forward as well, she's been unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. And if I'm honest, this was the position I found hardest. And I had Ash Neville among mine. I had Koivisto among mine. So I said to Barry, and he can testify on this, that I thought maybe a Liverpool defender did deserve to be in that back line. I went for Emily Fox in the end because I think she truly has like transformed Arsenal. When you look at their results from January onwards, you've got the Chelsea result as a bad one. She didn't play in the first half. We didn't concede in the second half. And yeah, I mean, in terms of attacking output, she has been so strong down that wing for Arsenal, and in terms of coming into that team that was a struggling defence, shall we say. And I think Lotte Wurmoy was kind of the bright spark in that defence already, and Emily Fox came in. If I'm honest, it was probably the player that I was like kind of least confident with. And I think I kind of take the shouts of Koivisto and Ashley Neville as well. But I do think, and I think that's because she did only play 10 games this season. But I think in those 10 games, if we're taking them for the game she has played, she's definitely among that conversation. And she has better stats than a lot of players going forward. And I think when you're looking at stats, you can't just take the best numbers, like Ash Neville having better pass success than Grace Clinton. Well, obviously, because she's a defender and Grace Clinton is a midfielder, and that's how those things work. Fox would be the same as well. Like, I wouldn't say she's necessarily as good a passer as Leah Balti, but I expect her to have a better pass completion because she's in that defence in the position that she has. So I think when you're looking at stats, let's be careful, guys. But other than that, I agree. Emily Fox for this one.
Very, very interesting. Kieran saying it's player of the season, not half season, but I think that kind of goes to show the sort of where we are in terms of right backs. And Connor just throwing in some shade here to some of the people in the chat. Wow, what a response that is. And just having seen that now means that I don't want to do this. I really want to know who it is you've put. So feel free to just whack that out in the chat, because I really want to see who you've gone for. But as you can see, currently we have a back four, we have a front three, and we have one player in our middle three. So I can confirm we had one player who was again chosen by every single one of our panel, and that was there we go, Marie Hobinger. So you don't want to. Well, I can't force you to, Melissa, but it's very disappointing. Sticking with Emily Fox, probably a good idea. I'll just get Connor to tell me afterwards. But Hobinger is in there, and of course, she's a Liverpool player. So we now currently have, as it stands, 3 City players, 2 Chelsea players, 2 Arsenal players, a Brighton player, a Liverpool player, and, as it stands, a Manchester United player. So I'm going to leave her there just for a little bit longer, because I can. And we're going to look at the player just above, player number 7. Because we have basically, apart from Hobinger, some people that are in the fight. Now, Zelly, bless her, had 1 vote, and that was Mia, and she put that as the star player and threw her in there. So I'm going to ask Connor, because you're not a Chelsea fan, to explain why you chose a certain Scottish defensive midfielder who could have gone there instead.
I mean, yeah, Erin Cuthbert for me is just a shoo-in in any WSL team. Like, she can go to Barcelona and make them just as good as they are. Like, she's that good. I said I did a TikTok about this not so long back. To me, she's still underrated. She still gets overlooked, and I think I stand by this. People are not going to like this. I think if she's English, she gets a lot more praise than what she currently gets if she's in the Lionesses squad. And I do fully believe that. To me, she's the best midfielder like in the league. I think she's that. Rob obviously watches her more than I do week in, week out of Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea are anywhere near as good without her in the midfield. I think when she's not playing, it's very, very obvious. So for me, I don't even think I don't feel like I have to put such a strong argument forward, because for me, she just has to be in there. The others I can kind of accept, we can debate on. Cuthbert for me just has to be in there. Like, Chelsea do not win the league without her in there. And like, there's other players. Obviously, I went for Obviously for Marie as well, and I did go for another City mid player in my midfield, which is going to make this difficult because we've already got 3 City in. So I don't know where she's going to fit in. But for me, yeah, Cuthbert just has to be in there somewhere. I don't care who you're taking out or putting in to make that happen. But for me, she's got to be one of those 3 in midfield. I know there's talk about Geralda's a huge fan of Cuthbert. I think every team is. I think Chelsea are very, very lucky. Scotland are very lucky to have a player like that in their midfield. So, yeah, I don't think I need to say any more. She just tops the charts and everything. She's just an absolute workhorse. And I don't think Chelsea are anywhere near as good without her in there.
You absolutely don't need to say any more, to be honest with you. And you don't need to say it because I'm going to write the name in because 4 people chose Erin Cuthbert. And I feel like that is absolutely fair. But obviously, as we all know, that's not where Erin Cuthbert plays. She doesn't play in that little position just there. So we are going to have to drag Erin Cuthbert back a little bit here. We're just going to throw these 2 up here ever so slightly. Just whack her. It's a very defensive side we seem to have gone for at the moment. But let us see what magic we can do, because the remaining 2 players that are in the shout for this, as I said, hoping that all 5 of you went for Cuthbert 4. We then have a 3, a 2, and a 1. 3 of you went for a certain Grace Clinton. 2 of you went for Hasegawa, who is a Man City player. And if we chose to put Hasegawa in, would obviously now cause a problem because we have 3 City players. And this is where the debate's going to come in, boys and girls. This is where the debate is going to come in. And of course, we then have the 1, which is Mia. I do feel like this is where the unraveling of Mia begins, but just know I'm in your corner, Mia. Just know I'm there, regardless of what happens next. Spiritually, morally, I'm with you. I feel like your argument was brilliant. But we're going to start with Hasegawa because she got the 2 votes. And interestingly enough, that was Rob and Connor. Connor's already explained Cuthbert, so we're going to ask Rob if he can explain why he would choose Yui Hasegawa.
So in a similar way to what Connor's just said about Erin Cuthbert being the best player, I think that overall pound for pound, City are an infinitely worse side when Yui Hasegawa is not present. I think she's come on leaps and bounds from the player we saw at West Ham, who was very good in possession, to being very, very good out of possession. She's really, really good at closing down the passing lanes and just being a metronomic midfielder, keeping them ticking over. And again, I think she's the sort of player that could go in and play in any team in the world nowadays. I think City are very lucky to have got her extending that contract because I think she's very valuable, from a playing point of view, but also from a commercial point of view due to how big she is in her, in her native country. And I think, looking at City's lineup, if you ask me if I could take one player out when we face them, it'd be Hasegawa because the entire midfield falls apart when she's not there. And you've seen it in games this year when they've struggled. It's been because Hasegawa's had an off night. The one I always think of is the Chelsea versus City in the Conti Cup earlier this year. Hasegawa had a poor game. She was off her beat that evening. City didn't win the match. When she came and played at Kings Meadow, she was flawless all game, and City ran out winners.
So the question I would ask you and Connor on this one is, if we were to put in Hasegawa, which of the other 3 City players would we remove? I mean, Rob, I think for you, your answer to that has already been said. You've chosen Keating would be the one that you would get rid of. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's better. I think Keating's been good, but I think there have been other goalkeepers that have been impressive, considering they have to do more in the team.
Interesting. And Connor, which one would you dispose of? That's a very harsh way of putting it. But seeing as how Alexandri isn't currently in the team there, I feel like it's a more potent question for you.
I'd happily take Greenwood out and put maybe like a Gemma Bonner or somebody like that in there. For me, Hasegawa, Cuthbert, and obviously Hobbin, who you've mentioned, that would be my midfield 3 with Clinton as the she's the one on the cusp, I think, in that conversation. So for me, it's out of those 4. Obviously, I'm aware I'm not the only person on this panel. That would be my midfield 4, and you choose 3 from it. But I'd happily take Greenwood out of there and put Gemma Bonner or another defender that we've maybe not mentioned in the back line to get Hasegawa. As Rob just said, Hasegawa is one of the best in the league. And I think leaving her out is pretty criminal. if we can't find a place for her.
This is how the game works, Connor. Sometimes, and that's the beauty of it. There should be no shoehorning today, none whatsoever. That is the one guarantee that I started today with, and we shall bloody well carry on with that no matter what happens. But there was one other person, and that was, of course, Lady Grace of Clinton, chosen by Meg and Mia and Laura. So I'm going to start with Meg and Laura, who seem to be putting together quite a lot here. I'm a little bit nervous about this. It's almost as if you were comparing notes beforehand, which I know not to be true, but still is very bizarre. The pair of you chose Grace Clinton. Pourquoi?
It's almost like we support the same team, Barry, maybe. Don't know. But now, I mean, Grace Clinton's completely transformed that Spurs midfield this season, and she's just shone, hasn't she? She's gone there on loan, and it's been her time to shine, and that's what she's done. Like, if there was any Spurs player that I had to choose, as Spurs have, been a massively different side than to what they were last season, then I'd put her in there. And, I think she's one of the best midfielders in the league at the age she is. And, whether United take her back or whether she signs on at Spurs, I think she's got such a high ceiling. And I mean, the Lionesses are so lucky to have her as like an up and coming star as well, because she's going to be so important in these next few years for club and country.
Laura?
Yeah, I think the fact that Tottenham have had such a good season this year, I think Grace Clinton has been very key to that. I think another reason for me putting her in was that I'd reached my City limit. So Hasegawa was definitely up there for me. The kind of fourth one, but I was kind of happier with my midfielders than swapping the others out, which isn't necessarily a great reason for leaving someone out that I thought probably deserved to be in, but that was the reason. And I thought Grace Clinton, the effect she's had at Tottenham in being completely central to their plans this season in terms of tactics and how important she's been to that side doing well. And I think we saw that a little bit in the FA Cup final in terms of how much Spurs capitulated. I think it was also to do with the occasion, but I think her influence on that team, who have done so much better than we've seen them previously do this season, along with the manager, and I think how important Villaham sees Clinton as part of that project, and how much of, like, even if she's not at the club, I think she's super important for that club going forward, because she's an example of what you can do if you go to Tottenham as a young player. And I think for those reasons, as a kind of like a standard setting in a club that's shown incredible growth this season, she's definitely up there in the discussion.
Which brings us back to Mia. Now, Mia, this is a very important point for you now, because you chose Katie Zellum as your player whom you were dying ill for. But you also chose Grace Clinton. And Grace Clinton is currently a shoo-in at this point in time, because Hobinger got 5, Cuthbert got 4, Clinton got 3. Now, I don't want to add any pressure onto you at all. We have just told NT that this is a hill you're going to die on, whatever the weather, which, if you choose to do so, could leave us in a big argument, because we've then got 2 for Clinton, 2 for Hasegawa, and either way, I don't see any of this bunch choosing to go for Katie Zellum. But of course, if it is a draw, I did mention that a certain person would have the final say over what goes on. So I don't know what you're about to do. It's entirely up to you. But talk to me about the benefits, if you're going to go for Zellum, of keeping Zellum over Clinton and Hasegawa, or explain to us why Grace Clinton should be in this 11, because I've got to be honest, either way, I can see it. Okay, so I am going to stick with Katie Zellum. Shock, because I am dying on the hill. I've just said that. Okay, and here's why. And here's what I think. There's a lot of this,
City wouldn't be as good if they didn't have Hasegawa, which is fine. But also, City have the highest scoring player in their team. They have Lauren Hemp on one side, Chloe Kelly on the other. They would still score goals. They would still be okay. Manchester United without Katie Zellum would have struggled considerably this season. I can't stress that enough. There is enough players in that City team to make City good still, regardless. Hasegawa, hands down, is an unbelievable player. A little bit salty that she left West Ham, but whatever, I'm happy for her. However, they would still be City because they still have the goals in them. They still have the defensive, they're solid everywhere. If United took out Katie Zellum, they would have no structure, no leader. They would really, really, really be poor. I'm trying to contextualize this a little bit in terms of how important they've been for their clubs. And I've already gone through the statistics that Katie Zellum has put forward this season in a team that finished 5th. So, again, Hasegawa plays beautiful football and is a joy to watch. But Katie Zellum has been the rock for Manchester United, and I can't let it drop. I refuse.
Well, boys and girls, this leaves us in an incredibly interesting situation, and a situation that, frankly, when I started all this earlier on around about lunchtime, I did not expect to be in. Basically, what's happened here is that Mia has thrown out her vote for Grace Clinton, which now leaves Grace Clinton on 2, Hasegawa on 2, and Katie Zellum on 1. So, before I get involved in this, Clinton and Hasegawa choosers. Are any of you wanting to move over into a different camp? Do any Hasegawa fans want to move over to the Clinton camp? Do any of the Clinton people want to move into the Hasegawa camp? Or have any of you been swayed by Mia's impassioned plea for Katie Zellum? Now, what I will say, the whole purpose of today is to throw club bias out of the window. That's genuinely what we're supposed to do, because, seriously, we're sitting here trying to throw out a team of the season that we would be proud to put out there, and that shows that we are a bunch of fully functioning adults capable of disagreeing, but also picking, I think, a very good side. And I do have to be honest, as it stands at this moment in time, it looks a very good 11. Whether you put Zellum, whether you put Hasegawa, whether you put Clinton in. But it doesn't change the fact that we are in a situation now where we've reached deadlock, as X Factor would say. And if you judges can't make a decision, it will fall not to the people, because we're not that much of a democracy, but to me. So, first of all, Clinton people, which I do believe was Meg and Laura, are either of you wanting to go to the Hasegawa camp? Laura?
I would happily move to the Hasegawa camp, and I would change the goalkeeper to do that.
Ooh, interesting.
But, I think Hasegawa's probably had a better season, but I still think Keating's the best, so it's kind of tough.
Okay. Meg, yeah. Would you go over to Hasegawa or Zellum?
I wouldn't move, but I thought Mia's argument as to why Zellum, City have a lot more players that are very, very important. The forwards, Lauren Hemp, Chloe Kelly, Bunny Shaw. Doesn't mean I'm going to choose Zellum, but I'm sticking with Grace Clinton. As you said, bias goes out the window. I'm an Arsenal fan, and I've put a Spurs player for the sake.
Very good.
Only point I'd make on all of that. You've said City have a lot of other midfielders. Who else does the role that Hasegawa does in the squad? Who else is good enough to do that? Exactly.
But it doesn't matter, because they'd still be absolutely fine without her. It doesn't matter what role she plays, because they'd still be
fine. Because they lose all the midfield control that they have. That's like me saying with Chelsea. If you take Aaron Cuthbert out, they still would score goals, but they'd be infinitely worse from a defensive point of view. The number of times this again, I point to it. I always say it. You know, when Erin Cuthbert plays, you don't necessarily always notice her up when she's banging goals. You notice her when she's not there because suddenly there's a bloody great hole in the middle. Or alternatively, when she has a poor game. Emirates away this year, perfect example. Cuthbert had a poor game, got slaughtered. Played against City at Kings Meadow. Cuthbert had a poor game, got slaughtered. Barcelona away. Cuthbert has a brilliant game, and she shut down Patry, Bonmati, and the Barcelona and Kira Walsh. That is, I find it hard to say, there's anyone in that City side that you can make a legitimate argument and say, yeah, they could do what Hasegawa does. And that's why they can't rotate Yui Hasegawa out.
So, listen, I knew this was going to be the bit where the fight comes in, but I've got to ask the other way now. Connor, would you move from the Hasegawa camp?
If it meant Clinton goes in, but Zellam's got to come out of that team. I'm so sorry to any of the Zellams if they're watching, because obviously if people know, I obviously know them pretty well. Zellam is maybe top of a lot of stats, but when you do it per 90, she is one of the lowest out of the group of players we're talking about. She has played considerably more minutes than everyone else that we're talking about here. So when you do it per 90, she's actually not even in the top 5. So that is key. That's key to be
clear, Connor. You're saying you would move, but
I would put Clinton in.
You are moving. Not I would move. Are you moving to Clinton or are you sticking with Hasegawa?
It depends on the others, doesn't it? Like
it doesn't.
I would take
you.
no.
What are you doing?
I said this earlier. I would take Greenwood out to put Hasegawa in because, Hasegawa to me is, along with Cuthbert, one of the best midfielders in the league, and I think
so you're sticking with Hasegawa.
No, because I'd have Hasegawa and Clinton. I think it's
can't have both. You're like one of those really irritating kids in the shop. I want that one and I want that one. Well, you can't. I've only got a fiver. Pick one or the other. Which one are you picking? Clinton or Hasegawa?
In that team, as we're looking now, I will stick with Hasegawa because I think you can push Cuthbert a bit further forward.
Okay. Rob, would you move from Hasegawa to Clinton? Okay. Mia, close your eyes. The moment has arrived. It's been lovely having her there for all that time. But she is about to be removed. So Hasegawa's in. But we now have a rule problem. And the rule problem is that we now have 4 City players. Now, our City players are Keating, Greenwood, and Hasegawa and Shaw. So, I need the entire panel to explain who of that 4, well, I say that, it's obviously not going to be Hasegawa because you've all just pretty much decided that. Who of those 3, Shaw and Greenwood and Keating, is being removed? I'm not going to ask Rob because he's already said Keating and Connor's already said Greenwood.
Can I quickly throw in a name that I didn't think I was going to throw in? Hannah Hampton for Keating. Is that possible? Have we got 3 Chelsea already? Oh, we've already got 3 Chelsea. No, ignore me. No, forget it. Carry on. Gemma Bonner for Greenwood. I was going to say Hampton because her clean sheet record for the amount of games she's played is very, very good. And I think if she plays all the games in the league, she probably eclipses Keating, but we can't because those 3 Chelsea are non-negotiables. Carry on.
I did think that as well, Connor, but then I was like, no, already got 3 Chelsea.
Can I make a pure statistical? Can we swap Herbinger and Hasegawa because Hasegawa's not a 10? But Herbinger can play as a 10.
We'll get to midfield in a minute. I need to know who we're taking out first, and then we'll make sure everybody's in the places they're supposed to be in. We'll all look pretty at the end. Don't worry, Rob. So, Mia, who would you remove? And apologies.
Yeah. Okay. So I've tried to be mature this video, but I'm gonna cave. Let's take out Alex Greenwood and let's put in Millie Turner.
Oh, okay. Well, Greenwood out.
Lionesses breakthrough this season, made her debut, lifted the FA. Why not? Why not?
We've got 2 out for Greenwood. Meg, who would you remove?
Out of the 4 or the 3, because I'd still remove Hasegawa out of those.
Woohoo!
Because I had the other 3 in there anyway, and I didn't have Hasegawa in there, so I'd still have Hasegawa as the one that I would remove because I still
Okay,
think
so
Clinton
Mia
deserves to be
spoiling her vote. Fair enough. Sorry, Meg spoiling her vote. Laura?
I said goalkeeper a minute ago, but I think I said earlier that I'd like a Liverpool player in the back line, so I might jump on the Bonner for Greenwood train here.
Ooh. Okay.
We
So,
also, can I just say we also can't have Millie Turner because she's still in Ramirez's back pocket.
ooh, there's no need for this level of housery. She's gone.
So are we? Hang on, so are we saying no City players in the back line? Is that what we're saying here? After what they've had one of the best defensive records,
that can't
I
happen.
think they have the best defensive record in
How
the
the game
league.
works.
We can have Clinton back in midfield.
So, as it
Yeah, then we
stands,
can't-
yeah, I'm willing to maybe, but then Hassig.
these are the games you listen. This is the one you put yourself into. All I'm going to say to you is that had you all decided to do the sensible thing at this point, which was to have put Grace Clinton in there, Clinton would currently be sat where Hasegawa is, and we would have had a team, and there would be no dramas and no arguments and none of that. But
I agree, Barry. I agree. I would have done the same.
I'm more inclined
Laura
to agree.
chose to divert
Yes.
from her initial point to get Hasegawa in. Connor refused to move over. And genuinely, just in case the world's wondering what I would have done, Zellum still would have been removed. I would have gone with Grace Clinton out of them all. So there you go. But this is the road you've travelled down now, so you can get yourselves out of it. That's what I'm here for. So Alex Greenwood has been removed. So two of you have said Gemma Bonner, which has been thrown in. Alexandria's obviously been another one, but she can't. She can't because she's a City player as well. So that would defeat the object, wouldn't it? Which means Gemma Bonner, two of you have gone for. Would anybody else like to jump on the Gemma Bonner train? Rob, it doesn't look like we're going to be changing the goalkeeper. So where would you go defensively now that this has occurred?
I mean, like, look at my other notes. I did actually do a bench for mine to like, and what all I'll say is like the names that have been suggested are the names that are on my bench anyway that would be rotated in and out. So yeah, Gemma Bonner. I think Bonner's been brilliant. I think with Bonner, one of the other elements that you sort of like look at is in that back line at the moment. I think she's a really good leader in that back line.
I can confirm that by having a third person named Gemma Bonner, this is how democracy works. We now have a Liverpool player in defence over the City player, which means we currently have our team. The last question I wanted to ask you all, as it stands, is just right back. Two of you went for Emily Fox. Obviously, we had one for Riviere, one for Ash Neville, one for Covisto. So, I just want to see, is there anybody who would particularly the other three, the Riviere, Covisto, and Neville camp, would any of you push over into any of the other camps, or are we quite content with Emily Fox being there at right back? Because that was the closest one out of the rest of them.
I mean, my argument against Fox, I think she's done well, but she's only been there for half a season.
I would side with Rob and go for Coy Visto. I would change from Riviere to Coy Visto.
Now that would put us at 2-2.
The thing is,
Um,
the three
which would
Liverpool
leave
players
Mia.
deserve to be in there.
Yeah,
But yeah, I would say Liverpool have. We're talking about team of the season. We're talking about players that have exceeded the expectations. Did anyone have Liverpool finishing fourth?
No.
Point proven.
Absolutely not. So, Mia, the wonderful news here is that despite it all, you will have the last word effectively on this team of the season, because it stands as 2 for Emily Fox and now 2 for Covisto. You need to give it up on Ash Neville. She's done very well. She's not going to be winning here today. So with that in mind, which of those two would you choose? Would you, and far be it for me to turn it into a battle of the sexes, but would you go with the girls who have gone for Emily Fox, or would you go with the boys who have gone for Covisto?
I couldn't care less.
that is not helpful in the slightest.
Literally, I'll say Coivisto because Emily Fox has been there half a season, and I don't agree that that's she's been good, whatever. But I'm not gassed with either of them, to be fair. And I said this at half. I am going full temper tantrum, but I'm not doing this again. I'm not coming back. This is it. This is the last you've seen of me.
Can I just say I did nearly put in the Shimizu into the equation because I thought she'd had a really good season at West Ham, despite the fact they've struggled. But ultimately, what did it was Koivisto's defensive record. But I do think Shimizu was the other player on my bench for the honourable mention. So,
indeed. Well, this is where we are, guys. So that is quite a thing. It means we've ended up with 3 City players. We've ended up with 3 Liverpool players. We've ended up with just 1 Arsenal player, 3 Chelsea players, and a Brighton in a pear tree, which is lovely. So the last thing I need really is your guidance as to what you want to do with the midfield. Are we going double pivot or single pivot? What's happening here? Are we putting Hasegawa and swapping Hobinger with Hasegawa? Is that basically what's happening here? Laura, what say you?
Yeah, I think definitely move Hasegawa backwards. You could either have Hasegawa as like a single pivot with Cuthbert and Herbinger slightly further forward. I think that's probably what I'd do.
So you're saying a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Wonderful. Meg, would you disagree with that?
I wouldn't. I'd still disagree with one of the players that's been put in there, but that's obviously been decided now, so I'm not going to.
Democracy. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. You're happy with that? Mia, if you could, just pop your dummy back in for a second and let us know you're happy with that. Whatevs. Great. Connor, happy?
No, I would still swap Turland and James around because Turland has not played off the left all season. I've just checked that, and James has.
Am I talking about the front 3? Am I talking about? We're talking about the middle 3. That's what I asked.
You said, "Are you happy with the team?" And I said no because I would still swap those 2 around.
All right, let me rephrase the question. The middle 3, you're happy with them?
I am now, yes.
Okay, lovely. Rob, are you happy with the middle 3?
yeah, Hasegawa is no longer some weird number 10. So yeah, I'm not. My OCD has been quelled for a minute.
Lovely. Now, Rob, you were one of the people who put Lauren James on the right of the front 3. So as Connor's now doing a mirror, what do you reckon? Could we?
Honestly, I could not care less.
Lovely.
Like she's played all the way across the front 3 at various points. I think the only reason I put Turland on the left-hand side was because she was I went in order positions and Turland was the last player I put in. So swap them around if you want.
Well, it's not about whether I want to or not, because let's be brutally honest, I'm quite enjoying watching Connor squirm. But Mia,
actually, on that argument, on the fact it would annoy Connor, then keep it as it is.
I wonder if Mia wants to do the same thing. Mia, you voted for Lauren James to be on the right. Was that, however, a similar drama to the Ashley Neville Neve Charles? Did you actually mean for Lauren James to be on the left?
Yeah, I did.
Which means, Connor, that despite my best efforts, you bloody well won again. You happy now?
I think that's a good team. I don't know what everyone's complaining about.
I think it's a brilliant team. And when we take away from that the rules when you go to the subs, that means that as it stands, our subs bench would include Brosnan in goal due to the fact that that was who was voted for. So she would be our sub goalie. Our sub defender would be Greenwood, hence being dropped out. Our sub midfielder would be Grace Clinton. And our sub forward doesn't exist due to the fact that you all pick the same 3 people. So we've got no sub forward. So there we go. That's a bit pants. So maybe for that one, we'll also just throw in. It's my show. Why not? I'm going to stick Jellum on the bench. There you go. How's that? She's there. She's on the bench. Get over it. She's there. Because she's the only other person on there that's been named. Cuthbert, Hasagawa, they're all there. Clinton's there. So there's no one else in the front line. Katie Evans on the bench.
I hear Ashley Neville sometimes plays up front.
Sorry?
I hear Ashley Neville sometimes plays up front.
Can't say I do. But there we go. So, boys and girls, I think that is a really good show and a really good team. Congratulations to you all. You should be very, very proud of yourselves. We can stop sharing now. That is our team of the season.
Can I just ask? Did we all agree on the manager of the season? Because I feel like there's one vote. There's one vote here, and if we're not all saying the same name, there's something wrong.
I was going to say that it's got.
If it's not Matt Beard, then who is it?
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah. Thank goodness. I'm glad we're.
Robert Villaham's close behind, but it's Matt Beard and then Robert Villaham. I think is probably close second.
I'll also give a shout out to Brian Sorensen under the.
On Beard.
What's that? Oh, you're not going with your three-person.
No, of course I'm not. I just wanted to see what sort of reaction that was going to get.
Also, just give Brian Sorensen credit for the fact that he's had to work under Everton having 400 players injured every single match day. That can't be easy.
Well, there we go. You've all been brilliant. Lovely to have you in the chat. Sorry I haven't thrown so many up on the screen today. The problem was if we keep doing that, you couldn't see Rob. And while some might argue that's a wonderful thing, it's not fair, really, is it? So, we can't be doing that. But yeah, well done. Rob, lovely to have you join us this evening. Thank you very much for bringing your expertise over. Where could people find you, as you are not here every single week? If they wanted to see your work, where would they find it?
Yeah, you can find me at journalism_RP. Again, I've actually refocused my stuff recently to pretty much only now focus on women's football at this moment in time. So yeah, lots of stuff coming out. I have about, I think, 6 articles in the pipeline at this moment in time, including grading every single one of the top European seasons and grading the teams in every league. So no doubt you can all tell me why I'm wrong in that as well.
Excellent. Good stuff. Laura, anything interesting in the pipeline from you that we should know about?
I'm sure there is, but not off the top of my head, just follow my Twitter. I'm sure you will see, I think, an interview with a deaf England player at the moment for men's football. But yeah, that will be out soon.
Exciting. Keep your eyes on Laura's feed for that then. Meg, anything interesting happening in your world?
Well, it might not be interesting, but I'm going back into the office, into work for the first time in over months next week. So I'm very excited for that. It's not often that I'd be really excited to actually go back into work, but I am really excited to go back into work. So
absolutely, that's great news. And also, can I just put a shout out to Meg for that, because she threw into our group chat today, name me any team or any person so I can put out a stat of the day, which, by the way, I'm loving on our Twitter feed at the moment, seeing the stat of the day. And I threw out there Boldmere St Michael's, thinking she ain't finding nothing about that. She thinking well did. I'm very impressed. So well done, Meg, on that one. Mia, whereabouts can people commiserate with you?
I mean, my Twitter's in my name, but yeah. You come and see me lose on Twitter or TikTok. I'm losing over there.
Absolutely. There we go. Go and cheer me up over there. And Connor, I believe you've got a few shows coming up here on All for Women's Football. Can you please tell your legions and legions of fans what is ahead?
Yeah, so there's one at the end of June, which is in the pipe. Last been one for a while, so I can't say that. But I don't know why I'm shouting that out, because I say ages away. But yeah, one at the end of June. More up and coming though. Thursday. I don't know. It's either going to be 7 or 8. So just keep an eye on Thursday. I'll tweet it out at the time. I said we'll be doing a show on Bayern Munich. Obviously, they won the title for the consecutive years. So I've got that coming on Thursday, talking all things there. Obviously, talking about their unbeaten, in that one. Very good defensive record as well. What maybe went wrong for them as well in the Champions League, because for a team with that much quality and that many high quality players to knock it out of the group was probably a disappointing season for them. So yeah, that's going to be good, and it's good to chat a different leagues. Obviously, we've done a lot of WSL in the last couple of weeks, so yeah, focusing a bit more on Germany on Thursday night.
Absolutely. Well, all that remains to be said is thank you very much to everybody who's joined us. it was a fight for sure, and it went all the way to the final round. But sadly, as seems to be the way that these things go, Mia has ended up knocked out on the floor with 0 people for Manchester United in the starting 11, which probably reflects the season, but that's how it goes. I'm quite proud of that team this season. If you're not, let us know. Jump over onto Twitter, TikTok, all the things on the social media. Let us know what you think, because ultimately we're very intrigued to hear what you've got to say. We'll see you again, apart from Connor's shows, next Monday. Night all.